Hello, and welcome to another tutorial from ViewZen Labs on the Analytics platform. Today, we'll explore the column charts. A chart, often referred to as a graph, serves as a visual aid for data visualization, facilitating the comprehension of complex information. It employs symbolic representations such as bars in a bar chart, lines in a line chart, or slices in a pie chart to convey data points effectively. A chart is an effective way to present data such as quantities across categories, trends over time, share of different categories in a segment, frequency distribution, correlation between variables, data density, comparing groups over time, and so on. Charts are a highly preferred mode of representing the data as they enable users to derive a diverse set of insights and perspectives about the underlying data with visual inspection. This facilitates decision-making on data for improved business outcomes. Let's learn more about different types of charts used in ViewZen Labs. Column chart is among the most common types of charts used for understating comparisons and variations in data across categories or time. A column chart is made of rectangular bars that can be drawn horizontally or vertically. The length of the bar indicates the simple value or aggregated value or derived value of the category or time that they represent. Remember that column charts provide a quick and intuitive way to compare data relatively or over time. A line chart displays data points connected by lines. It is commonly used to represent trends and changes in data over time or across different categories. Each data point is plotted along the horizontal x-axis, which usually represent time or categories, and the vertical y-axis, which represent the values being measured. By connecting these data points with lines, a line chart helps visualize the overall trend and pattern of the data, making it easier to understand and interpret trends, patterns, and relationships within the data set. An area chart is a type of chart that is used for presenting data over time or other continuous intervals. It is similar to a line chart, except that in an area chart, additionally the area below the line is filled in with color. The color in the area chart emphasizes the volume of data over time. Area charts are effective for visualizing trends of a single variable or multiple variable over time and for comparing categories over time. They provide a clear representation of how values change over time or across different categories. A pie chart divides a circle into many slices, with each slice representing a proportion or percentage of a whole. It is like cutting a pie into pieces, where each piece shows how much of the total it represents. The size of each slice corresponds to the relative volume of the data it represents. Pie charts are commonly used to illustrate the distribution of categorical data or to show the relative contributions of different categories to a whole. Pie charts, at a glance, provide simple comparisons or compositions of data. A donut chart is similar to a pie chart but with a hole in the middle, giving it a donut-like appearance. Like a pie chart, it represents data using slices, where each slice represents a proportion or percentage of a whole. The size of each slice corresponds to the relative volume of the data it represents. The hole in the middle of the donut chart can be used to provide additional information or to provide context, such as labeling the chart or showing the total value. Donut charts are often used to display similar information as pie charts but with the added benefit of being able to display more data or additional context in the center. A waterfall chart is like a step-by-step picture of how numbers change over time. It looks like a series of horizontal bars, where each bar shows how much a number goes up or down. It starts from a starting point and shows how things change as we go along. If a bar goes up, it means the number is increasing, and if it goes down, it means the number is decreasing. Each bar's length shows how much it contributes to the overall change, helping us to see which factors are making the biggest difference. People often use waterfall charts in finance to see how profits, cash flow, or other important numbers change over time. Now let's learn how to create a chart. To create a chart, first switch to Designer mode from the Mode switch drop-down at the top right corner. After that, go to the ribbon at the top of the canvas, select the chart icon, and then click the location in the canvas where we want to place the chart. If there are no elements on the canvas, then the chart will be placed on the topmost left corner on the canvas. Let's dig deeper into the chart configuration. When we hover the cursor over the chart, we will see the edit and delete icons. We can delete the chart by clicking on the delete icon. But while doing so, we should note that deletion cannot be reversed. If we want to access the properties pane of the chart, we need to click on the edit icon. The properties pane always opens on the right-hand side, on top of the canvas. The properties pane of the chart will allow us to design the appearance, create or change the content, and position the chart. Another way to access the properties pane is to click on the pen icon in the ribbon, after selecting the chart. Let us now look at the property configurations one by one. Under Chart Properties, there are 3 tabs: the Data tab, Format tab, and the Tooltips tab. We will first delve into the various functionalities under the Data tab. The Data tab allows us to select the dimensions and measures for a chart. We can add dimensions and measures from any of the available data sets. Once data sets are added to our dashboard, they become available for use in charts and other visual components of our dashboard. The Data tab is divided into 2 sections: X-axis and Y-axis. X-axis is used for the dimensions and Y-axis is used for measures. The default categorical column of the default data set is used on the X-axis, and the count of one other column is used as a measure on the Y-axis to create the default chart. We can select our own dimensions and measures or change the defaulted X-axis and Y-axis columns to create our chart. 1X and 1Y series charts. XY charts such as bar chart, line chart, pie chart, etc. need 2 axes, X-axis and Y-axis. In such charts, we only need to select the new X-axis dimension from the drop-down next to the already selected dimension. Alternatively, we can delete the original or defaulted X-axis dimension. Then, we can click on the dataset icon on the left top corner of the Properties pane. This will display all the data sets. Click on the arrow to expand and view the list of fields in that particular data set. This way we can choose our required dimensions, drag and drop in the X-axis section of the Data tab. The new dimension will get added to the X-axis. Dimensions can be a category field, a text field, a date field, or a number field. The Y-axis column can similarly be changed to the required metric column from the data set. The column on which we want to quantify or aggregate the data by dimension is the metric column. For example, if we want to plot a chart that displays the number of employees by department, department is our dimension. Count of the number of employees is our metric. A metric column can be a categorical column, a number column, or a date column. However, depending upon the type of the column, only certain types of quantification or aggregation are mathematically permitted. For example, if a text or string column is selected, only count aggregations can be done, but if a numeric value column is selected, aggregations such as sum, variance, standard deviation, etc. can be done. The following is the list of aggregations on the metric column that we currently support. As we select the dimension and the metric columns and their properties, we can see our XY chart developing on the canvas. By default, we will see a bar chart. This is because we have decided to display the data series for a metric in the form of a column series. You will notice that this selection is provided near the metric column selection. We can change the data series type to area or line or waterfall or pie or donut, etc. To draw the following types of charts, we can set the data series property as mentioned here. 1X and multiple Y series charts. Multiple metrics can also be presented in a single dimension. For example, we may want to view the number of employees as well as the average salary of the employees by department. In this case, we have one dimension that is one x-axis, which is department, and second metrics that is y-axis. 1. The count of employees, and 2. Average salary. We can drag and drop the two columns on the y-axis. We can order the display of the metrics on the chart. This is done by dragging and changing the sequence of the metric column. The y-axis section on the Data Properties tab provides for multiple y-axes to be created. What this essentially means is that we can represent multiple metrics on a single common y-axis as well as on different y-axes. If the range of values of the metric columns are similar, then it is preferred to use a single common y-axis. If the range of values are highly different, then presenting the values of the metric on their individual y-axis is likely to make interpretation easier. If we have many metrics, we can present metrics on a similar range on a common axis, whereas others can be presented on other axes. When there are multiple y-axes, to make interpretation easy, we may want to position some of our axes on the left side, whereas few others on the right side of the chart. This positioning can be done in the Axis Settings of the Format tab. We can select each measure and position the axis either to the left or right. We will learn more about axis setting when we cover this section later in this tutorial. When multiple metrics are presented on the same chart, the presentation of each of the data series corresponding to a metric can be changed. This means that we can have a line and a column series or a line and area series together in a chart. Multiple X and single Y series charts. Multiple dimensions on x-axis can be used to break the data of a dimension into another dimension, and so on. For example, we may want to know the gender ratio of a set of organizations in different functions of the organization. In this case, our first dimension is organizations. The second dimension is functions, and the metric is gender ratio. This data may be represented in different types of charts, such as stacked chart, column stack charts, tree map, nested pie, and so on. Just as we can drop multiple columns in the y-axis section of the Data Properties tab, we can drop multiple columns in the x-axis of the x-axis section of the Data Properties tab. The different dimensions can be ordered depending upon the manner in which we want to visualize the data. In the above example, if we want to visualize the gender ratio by organization function for each organization, then our first dimension has to be organization, and the second has to be the organization function. However, in the same above example, if we have to visualize the data by organization for each function, then the first dimension has to be the organization function, and the second dimension should be organization. One last thing about dimensions and metrics on the Data Properties pane. We may want to display the column label differently on the chart. To change the display name of a column of either the dimension or the metric, we can double-click on it and edit the same. The new name will be displayed in the chart. Now that we are able to create a chart, we will go through some interesting ways to style our chart. We can style our chart with various options available under the Format tab. Here we can change chart titles, give interesting subtitles, style the appearance, choose column series, give legends, position and style them, configure actions and events, and define our color formatting rules. Title setting. Let us begin with the title configuration. The title is the name by which we can refer to a chart. A chart title conveys to the user the information that is presented in the chart. Titles can be formatted to emphasize aspects that are important for the user. Such emphasis can be achieved by increasing the size of the title text, displaying the text or part of the title text in bold or in italics, underlying important words in the title text, displaying the text or part of title text in one or more different colors, and so on. The text formatting tool under the title settings section gives us a variety of formatting options. We can format the title in ways similar to what we do in Word. To change the formatting of the title, we have to just select the title and then choose the font style, font size, title color, title background, and alignment. Further, we can even format each letter or word of a title. At times, we might want to use the same text or background color on multiple words. To achieve that, we can copy the hex code from the color box of the source title and paste it into the hex fields of all the destination titles. Generally, titles are displayed at the top of the chart. However, some charts can have a title on the left, on the right, or the bottom of the chart. The position property in the chart enables us to place the title on any side of the chart. We can give the title of the chart a background color with the background property. We can also put a border to the chart title. The border property can take 3 attributes: the thickness of the border outline, the style of the border, solid, dotted, etc., and the color of the border outline. By default, rectangular borders are created around the title text. However, we can smoothen each corner of the border rectangle by specifying the appropriate border radius values. With the padding property, we can control the space between the title and the chart container. We can also add shadows to the chart title box by specifying the offset values, blur radius, and color. We can switch off a chart title using the toggle button next to the title settings section. Subtitle setting. A subtitle is a secondary or explanatory title. Many times, we need both a title and subtitle. While a title conveys the broader information that is presented in the chart, a subtitle can be used to give additional or specific information about the chart. Since the subtitle is additional information about a chart, its configuration is very similar to the title configuration. To display the subtitle on the chart, switch on the toggle button next to the subtitle settings section. Just like a title, a subtitle can also be formatted to highlight key information or messages contained in it. Subtitles can be formatted using the text formatting tool provided inside the subtitle property. Subtitle text or parts of subtitle can be increased in size, given different colors, aligned to the left, right, or center, underlined, italicized, and so on. Just like a title, a subtitle can also be placed in any corner of the chart using the position property. We can also give a border or shadow to the subtitle. With the padding property, we can control the space between the subtitle and chart and subtitle and the title. Appearance settings. The appearance of a chart can be greatly enhanced by selecting the right combination of background color, border, shadow, and spacing. These properties are provided under the Appearance Settings section of the Format tab. A background color can be applied to a chart with the background property. For choosing the background color, click on the color box and then choose the required color either by selecting from the color palette or by entering the RGBA or HSLA or hex color codes. If we wish to use the same color in another chart that we have created, we can copy the hex code of the source chart and paste it into the hex code field in the respective destination chart. The primary text color for the chart in ViewZen Analytics is black. However, we can choose an alternative text color as well. When an alternative primary color is selected, the title, subtitle, and data in columns will appear in that color, except where a title, subtitle, or columns are assigned a text color under their respective property configuration. Using padding, we can control the space that is to be left between the chart and the border of the chart container or box. Additionally, we can also add shadows to the chart box by specifying the offset values, blur radius, and color. Likewise, we can specify the width, style, color, and radius of the border of the chart. Legend setting. For most charts, legends are used by viewers to gain information about the data presented on the chart. Legends usually contains a marker that is based on a symbol or color used to display the series or data point on a chart, a title, and optionally a value. Legend settings help us to control the design, appearance, and display of legends. The position property can be used to display the legend either on the top or bottom center of the chart. The gap between the legend marker and its title can be adjusted using the gap property. The title of the legend can be set to bold, italics, or can be underlined using the appropriate label property. The font size of the title can be increased or decreased, as also the color of the title text. By default, square markers are displayed and size of the marker can be adjusted using the marker slider. If legends are not relevant or not required, we can turn it off by using the toggle button next to the legend settings. Viewer settings. Viewer settings are additional options that appear only when the dashboard is opened in view mode. These options allow end users to interact with the different components of the dashboard. For a chart, we can enable the end user to view the chart in full screen mode, sort the column data in either ascending or descending order. Besides, we can provide users with the option to download the data in Excel as text format. General settings. In general settings, we can give the exact position and size of the chart. By specifying values for X and Y, we determine where on the screen the chart will be placed, and by entering values for width and height, we control how big or small the chart appears. The rotate property can be used to rotate a chart. When a chart is rotated, the x-axis will become vertical and the y-axis will become horizontal. Rotating a chart can make it easier to visualize data or highlight certain trends, especially if we are dealing with a lot of data points. For example, in a bar chart, we can rotate the chart so that the bars are horizontal instead of vertical, or vice versa. Similarly, in a line chart, we can rotate the chart to change the orientation of the x-axis or y-axis. The component link feature allows us to embed the chart into an external portal or application. The link provides the API that can be called from external applications and portals to display the chart. Column series settings. If our chart has a column series assigned to at least one of the data series, then the column series settings option will automatically appear in the Properties tab. Under the column series setting, we would be able to view all our metrics or data series that have column series assigned to them. For each such metric or data series, we would be able to set two properties: A, border radius, and B, column width. By default, columns appear as rectangles. Using border radius, we can smoothen the edges of the rectangle. The width of the rectangles can be increased or decreased by changing the column width. Area series settings. If our chart has an area series assigned to at least one of the data series, then the area series settings option will automatically appear in the Properties tab. Under the area series setting, we would be able to view all our metrics or data series that have area series assigned to them. For each such metric or data series, we would be able to set a few properties. An outline can be given to the area under the data series with the stroke style property. The desired width of the outline can be set with the width property. The outline can be a solid line, a dashed line, a dotted line. We can also choose none in case no outline is desired. We can choose the color with which the area under the data series is to be represented with the color property. Data points on the area series can be marked with a circle or a square. The size of the market or bullet used for marking the data point can be increased or decreased with the size property under bullet style settings. The data points can be joined with straight lines or can be smoothened to make the area. Line series settings. If our chart has a line series assigned to at least one of the data series, then the line series settings option will automatically appear in the Properties tab. Under the line series setting, we would be able to view all our metrics or data series that have line series assigned to them. For each such metric or data series, we would be able to set a few properties. The desired thickness of the line can be set with the width property under stroke style settings. The line can be a solid line, a dashed line, a dotted line. We can also choose none in case no line is desired. We can choose the color of the line with the color property. Data points on the line series can be marked with a circle or a square. The size of the market or bullet used for marking the data point can be increased or decreased with the size property under bullet style settings. The data points can be joined with straight lines or can be smoothened to create the data line. Waterfall series settings. If our chart has a waterfall series assigned to at least one of the data series, then the waterfall series settings option will automatically appear in the Properties tab. Under the waterfall series setting, we would be able to view all our metrics or data series that have waterfall series assigned to them. For each such metric or data series, we would be able to set 3 properties: A, border radius, and B, column width. C, positive and negative color to quickly tell positive or negative values respectively. By default, columns appear as rectangles. Using border radius, we can smoothen the edges of the rectangle. The width of the rectangles can be increased or decreased by changing the column width. Positive and negative colors can be assigned to positive and negative values respectively. Pie series settings. If our chart has a pie series assigned to at least one of the data series, then the pie series settings option will automatically appear in the Properties tab. Under the pie series setting, we would be able to view all our metrics or data series that have pie series assigned to them. For a pie series, we would be able to set the radius and outline style and color of the pie. The size of the pie chart can be increased or decreased by changing the pie radius. If the border style properties are set, an outline will appear around the circumference of the pie chart. We can specify the outline thickness, the color of the outline, and the type of outline: solid, dotted, or dashed. Donut series settings. If our chart has a donut series assigned to at least one of the data series, then the donut series settings option will automatically appear in the Properties tab. Under the donut series setting, we would be able to view all our metrics or data series that have donut series assigned to them. For a donut series, we would be able to set both the inner and outer radius and outline style and color of the donut. The size of the inner circle and outer circle of the donut chart can be increased or decreased by changing the inner radius and the outer radius respectively. If the border style properties are set, an outline will appear around both the inner and outer circumference of the donut chart. We can specify the outline thickness, the color of the outline, and the type of outline: solid, dotted, or dashed. Label settings. Data labels show details about individual data points on the chart. Individual data points of each data series can be separately configured. Therefore, each measure that is used in the chart will appear under the label formatting options. For each such series, we can position the label either inside or outside the point. We can choose either to display the label always or never using the label settings property. If the label display is set to always, additional properties can be applied to the label, such as displaying the label in bold, italics, or underlining the label, or applying a color to the label, or using a different font and font size for the label. For labels that are displayed, the value can be formatted in one of the number formats such as Indian, NS, etc. The number of decimal places to be displayed can be specified. A prefix or suffix or both can be added to the data label. Color settings. The color formatting is used to highlight the values of a data series using color. Colors to a data series enhances visual interpretation. Color formatting rules can be defined for each series. Therefore, each metric that is added to the chart will appear under the color formatting options. Values of a data series can be colored based on a single color, gradient scale, conditions, and category or dimension color. Any one of the above options can be selected under the color scheme. Available color schemes depend upon the type of data field used. For instance, if it is a numeric field, the available color schemes will include category-based, single color, conditional, as well as gradient scales. A gradient color scheme can either be based on the values of the same column or any other metric used in the chart. The relevant column can be selected from the Based On property. To create the gradient scale, it is mandatory to specify the minimum and maximum colors. We can choose any number of colors in between the minimum and maximum colors. To display all the data points of a series in a single color, the single color option can be selected. This allows us to ensure consistency and coherence in the visual representation of the data, as all bars will be displayed in the one color. Data points of a series can also be colored based on certain conditions. The conditional color scheme can be used for this purpose. Conditions can be created either on the values of the same series or metric, or the other metrics and dimensions used in the chart. Any number of conditions and the formatting rules for each such condition can be configured. If the condition is based on a metric, the metric value can be compared with one or more values to create the condition. Whereas if the condition is based on a dimension, the dimension value can be compared to create the condition. For every condition, formatting rules can be created. Examples of formatting that can be done include specifying a background color, changing the data label color, font and font size, making the data label bold or italics or both, underlining the data label, etc. Use add another rule to add multiple rules. Data services values can also be colored based on category. In this case, there are predefined themes that are available. Any one of those themes can be applied to the data series. This method allows for consistent and visually appealing color schemes that highlight different categories within the data. Sorting settings. Sorting allows us to organize the data in the chart in either ascending or descending order. A chart data can be sorted on multiple columns. To sort the chart data, first select the columns or data fields in the order in which the sort order needs to be created. We can change the sort order of columns by dragging the data fields up or down. For each selected column, we can choose the sort type, ascending or descending. For instance, we have selected countries as the first column and fatalities as the second column to be sorted. The sort type is selected as ascending for both columns. First countries would be sorted in ascending order. Following that, based on the ascending order of countries, fatalities would be sorted again in ascending order. Actions and events. Under Actions and Events, we will learn to configure user-initiated events on the chart component that can set off certain actions. In ViewZen Analytics, any dashboard visual component can be configured to perform actions based on two different types of events. One is event originating from the same visual and the other one is events originating from some other visual. Let's learn more about these two events. In the events originating from the same, this, visual case, different types of user-initiated events can be configured on the same visual component, and each such event can set off a certain action. For example, a user can click a bar on the bar chart, which can set off a drill-down action on the bar chart. Same goes with a double click. When a user double-clicks on the chart, we specify what type of action we need there. In the events originating from some other visual case, this visual can set off a certain action even if the user initiates an event on a different visual component. For example, we may want to filter the first chart also when the user clicks a bar of a second bar chart. For a chart, both types of events originating from the same, this, visual and events from other visuals, are applicable and therefore can be configured. Let us first begin with events from this visual, where we can configure two events, click event and double click event. Further, two properties need to be configured for the click event and double click event. Scope specifies the realm of this event. The scope or realm of an event can be a component, sheet, or dashboard. Scope helps us to limit or control the visual components that can act based on this event. It designates which all visual components can respond to this event with some action. Remember, We had mentioned that a visual can also respond to events originating from other components. If the scope of the event is a component, then only this visual component will respond to the event. If the scope of the event is sheet, then all visual components can respond to this event provided they have an associated action to perform. If the scope of the event is dashboard, then all visual components in this dashboard can respond to this event, provided they have an associated action to perform. Action is used to capture what the visual component is expected to do upon occurrence of the user-initiated event. Actions such as navigate to, freeze, drill down, filter, etc. can be set up depending upon the visual component. In the case of a chart, freeze, drill down, filter, and no action are currently allowed. Axis settings. Axis settings allow us to change the appearance of both the dimension, x-axis, and the metric axis, y-axis. Therefore, these settings can be configured for each dimension and metric. Each dimension and metric of the chart can be seen under axis settings for this configuration. In the case of the x-axis, the axis can be placed at the bottom of the chart, whereas y-axis can be positioned either to the left or the right of the chart. We can set this position explicitly for each dimension and metric under the axis position setting. We can display the axis line by enabling the Show Axis Line property. For axis lines that are displayed, the thickness and the color of the axis lines can be configured under the axis line properties. When there are more than one axis, the color of the axis line can be used for easy interpretation of the data points for that series. Gap between axis labels can be increased or decreased with the axis label density setting. Axis sticks and their color can be configured with the axis sticks setting. Enabling the zoom bar will display the zoom option for the axis. We can display grid lines and display axis tooltips by enabling the Show Grid Lines and Show Axis Tooltip properties respectively. Axis label settings. With axis label settings, we can change the way the x-axis and y-axis labels are deployed on the chart. Axis label setting can be done for each dimension and metric that is used in the chart. Therefore, each dimension, x-axis, and metric, y-axis, used in the chart is available for configuration. Axis labels can be displayed either outside or inside the axis with a position setting. Axis labels can be set to display always or never. If the never option is selected, the axis label will not be displayed. Labels can also be formatted, that is, they can be displayed in bold or italics or both, can be underlined, the text color can be changed, the font and font size can be changed. Axis title settings. Each dimension and metric axis can be given a title. Title assists in interpreting the dimension, x-axis, or the metric, y-axis. By default, the dataset column name that is used as dimension or metrics is displayed in the axis title respectively. Since each dimension or a metric can be given a custom title, therefore in the axis title settings, we would be able to see all the dimensions and the metrics used in the chart and change their appearance. Axis title can be turned off, that is not displayed on the chart, with a text property. The second attribute of the text property can be used to limit the length of the axis length. If the length of the axis title is more than the display length specified, then only those many characters as the display length specified will be displayed on the chart. However, by hovering over the axis title, we can see the complete text. Axis titles can also be formatted, that is, they can be displayed in bold or italics or both, can be underlined, the text color can be changed, the font and font size can be changed. Tooltip tab. The Tooltips tab is used to give extra explanations or instructions. Tooltips can be activated under the Tooltips tab of the Properties pane. We have two subcomponents under the Tooltips tab. One is Title Tooltip and the other is Visual Tooltip Whole Chart. If we do not wish to display this tooltip, we can turn it off/deactivate using the toggle button next to Visual Tooltip Settings. Once activated, the tooltip will appear while hovering over the visual component. We can enter or modify the tooltip text in the rich text editor. Both tooltip and tooltip text can be formatted. The tooltip text can be formatted in various different ways. For example, we can choose a font style and font size. We can give the text or its background a color. We can align the text. We can emphasize the text, bold, italics, or underline. We can strike through a word or sentence, and we can use a word or sentence as superscript or subscript. We can use the properties below the rich text area to format the tooltip. Tooltip formatting options help us to position the tooltip, put a border and style the border, add padding or shadow. After configuring all the steps, it's crucial to save these changes in the Properties pane. This ensures that the configured properties are applied and persist across sessions. Saving the changes typically involves clicking on the Save button within the Properties pane. Once saved, the settings get applied. Then now if we edit the chart again, the newly applied settings will appear in the Properties pane. If we close the Properties pane without saving the changes, the unsaved changes will still be available until either the changes are applied, saved changes, or discarded, cancel changes. This final step completes the setup and configuration of the chart component.